Good morning, everyone out there in at Infraguard. You're watching Infraguard TV, IGTV, a production of New York City Metro Infraguard Members Alliance. And with us is Richard Horowitz. He's an accomplished attorney as well as a private investigator here in the New York City area. And Richard has been all around the universe, and you can read more about him up on our website. We do have a link attached for you there. All right. Like I said, accomplished attorney, certainly a veteran of the Israeli military as well. All right. And Rich, thanks for making the program with us today. We certainly do appreciate it. We've got some things we wanted to talk about, and I know we've been kind of pressing you on this triangle report, which is all good stuff. All right. We've been speaking about the triangle report, and why don't you give us an assessment of the threat of the homegrown terrorism? What is your assessment?
Well, the assessment, my assessment, is that this is a threat that has to be constantly monitored. And it's a threat that if we don't take whatever measures the law enforcement professionals think are necessary, we'll have a lot more problems than we've had in the past. You mentioned the Triangle Report. Um, there's one sentence in the report which says that prison does not seem to be a major source of Islamic radicalization. One of the people I'd like to have call in as a guest is Patrick Dunleavy. He's a retired correctional officer. He's written a book on radicalization in prison. So the threat is something that seems to emerge without warning in various parts of the country, either Muslims who have come here and lived for a while, for a decade, uh, people who have grown up and later on in life converted to Islam and perpetrated threats or attempted to, or people have come from overseas. Not only the 9/11 hijackers, there have been others who've come from overseas, attempted to plot or perpetrate an attack, and were not successful. So this is it is difficult to give a number of the danger of the threat. What I would say is, if it's not monitored properly, we're going to have a lot of significant consequences because of it.
Did you have a chance last night to see the Prime Minister's address at AIPAC?
I saw parts of it, yeah.
Yeah, I actually saw that too. I thought it was kind of revealing and just gives a little bit more into the threat and really how the Prime Minister of Israel considers that threat as well. All right. He does consider that a very, very real threat. We've talked about a lot of things. What plots have taken place that can illustrate the threat that maybe our listeners aren't aware of?
Well, we've spoken about, let's say, the three significant plots that were all thwarted in 2011. One was to detonate explosives at four DC metro stations.
Mm-hmm.
One was to fly a remote control plane into the Pentagon or the Capitol filled with explosives. And the third one was just a week or so ago. Someone was going to he thought he was armed with a functioning suicide vest, an automatic weapon, and he was going to shoot the security guards at the Capitol, penetrate the building, and detonate. So those are three plots alone in 2011. Now let's take, for example, the plot in 2010 that's been known as the Times Square bomber. It was foiled because a bystander saw smoke coming out of the car, and the car he used was a Nissan Pathfinder. Now, in 2004, I believe, somebody was a British citizen was arrested because he came to the States and was plotting attacks as well. He had an idea of having a vehicle detonate near the New York Stock Exchange and other landmarks in that area.
Mm-hmm.
His idea was to use a limousine. So we see that they're thinking clearly. I mean, the best that the Times Square bomber could have gotten his hands on was a Nissan Pathfinder. But if you want to have a vehicle detonate in near the New York Stock Exchange, a limousine would seem more inconspicuous than a Nissan Pathfinder. So they're putting effort and time into it. Now, the JFK plot, for example, in 2007, that was thwarted. Uh, Scientifically, had they detonated the fuel tanks at JFK, it would not have created this mass explosion going down through all the fuel lines throughout the city as they had hoped. But that's what they planned. That's what they planned to do. They didn't realize that, in terms of physics and chemistry, that would not have happened. But one of the four people arrested in that attack said that he expected this attack to be more catastrophic than 9/11. Now, luckily for us, it was thwarted, and luckily for us, he didn't understand that all the fuel within all the pipelines would not have detonated. But on the other hand, we have other plots that have been thwarted where, or hadn't been successful, where the explosives that were going to be used were PETN and TATP. Now, the day that the public at large knows what those two acronyms mean is not going to be a happy day. But if these terrorists are getting their hands on these types of explosives, the threat is significant. And again, back to the Triangle Report, whether there are 20 arrests in 1 year or 26 in another year, that isn't the point. That's not how you assess the what the threat is. The way you assess the threat, which is something hard for the public to do, is to know what intelligence information law enforcement has and what efforts it has taken to thwart these plots. Now, one thing I'd like to speak on, not today, but we'll have a few sessions on it, I hope, is the entrapment issue, which we touched upon last week. Because now we have, I don't know what to call them, but I'd call it the entrapment movement. People who are claiming that whenever the FBI uses undercover informants, um, that's entrapment because these defendants could not have could not have executed the plots without the assistance of the FBI, which is an incorrect explanation of what entrapment is. So I'd like to spend some time on that.
Well, we will. We will certainly in our follow-up sessions be getting more into that. Certainly do appreciate that. We're going to take a short break here, Rich. All right, and when we get back, we're going to ask you to hone in a little bit deeper on who is organizing these plots, and perhaps you can give us the memory video of the week, if you would.
Yeah, I think this will be a worthwhile segment to have. Just the memory clip of the week. Memory stands for Media Research Institute. MemoryTV.org. You'll find dozens and dozens a week of newly translated Arabic and Persian television segments. They have thousands over the years.
All right,
Let's
we're
try.
gonna give you plenty of time to get into that when we come back. All right.